Good afternoon, and welcome into another Titan Talk. It's Friday, August 21st. OB42 overview is, well, here, and right around the corner is OB42, with Raven being introduced.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, this patch does include the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything.
42, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You just thought of that just now? Or
No, I've thought of it before, I
and
just
then
forgot
go,
to mention it.
This moment is when I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. But welcome everybody. We're going to kind of go over the OB42 overview notes as always. A couple of other things to mention real quick before I forget is some competitions coming up. First of all, SMITE Source opened for signups, started 2 days ago on August 19th. You can sign up to try and qualify and get yourselves involved in the SMITE Source Open. All the information is on their website there. They're going to be doing $15,000 first place prize and along with 100,000 diamonds available in the prize pool as well. So make sure you check out and sign up for that. Additionally, we've also got the SMITE Prime art contest that's going on. SMITE Prime themselves are actually funding the first place prize of $200 for the winner of this one. And we'll be supporting with diamonds as well. So check out, get your submissions in there. But that art competition is the idea of Pantheons collide. So very similar to some stuff we've done in game before, where you get the opportunity to do that. And of course, SMITE Prime this weekend too. But that's enough of that.
Chat says I'm suspiciously happy. We were just laughing about something right before the
show
started.
I made a joke just beforehand about not wanting to work at all and Kilgrim around it.
It was amusing.
It was great.
Yeah.
Nothing you guys would like. And I'll put it that way in some regard. But anyway, let's get on with overview notes. And I guess the first thing I'm going to start off with God balance. We mentioned already, Kilgrim, that we're going to be seeing a lot of changes towards how healers are, mainly with the Enchanter patch coming through, or the updates coming through. This is step 1 in the Enchanter update, where we're going to focus on healing in terms of anti-heal, as well as what these gods can do in terms of healing. So they're going to see some scaling adjustments this update.
Yeah, and I would say, I think we're aware that some of these might feel a little underwhelming in this update because they don't have the itemization yet to really support the archetype.
Correct, yeah.
So this is kind of step 1, and next update, I would expect that these gods will start to feel a lot better, right? Some of them I think will be okay, but like we would not be surprised if some of these enchanters feel a little bit weak because the items aren't there to truly support it yet. But we need to do things in a couple steps just to make it work properly. So this first pass focuses on the gods plus the anti-heal changes, and then from there we will introduce some more items.
Additionally, this gives us a good feedback of how the anti-heal is looking alongside the extra sustain that these mages will be, well, not just mages, but healers will be bringing. So here we go, God balance. General, all gods with healing reduction abilities have increased from 25% to 40%. I'll be honest, chat, I didn't want to write out every single god with an anti-heal ability, but they're in there. They've all gone up to 40% now. And we'll move on to the general gods where we'll start to see some changes. Not every god with some sort of heals have been adjusted this update. There may still be some to be adjusted as a heads up. But this is quite a few of them. Amaterasu, first of all, we're going to be increasing the scaling per tick of her heal. It was 3.5% intelligence. It's now going to be 6% intelligence. Next up, Aphrodite. Pretty of a big one, this. A lot of changes to Aphrodite to begin with. The kiss, first of all, the jealousy damage bonus has been increased. It was 6% to 10%. It's now going to be 6% to 14%. Back off is going to be losing a ton of damage. Damage reduced from 80 to 320 will now be 60 to 250. Intelligence scaling on self will be 90% down to 50%. And intelligence scaling on the soulmate reduced from 60% to 30%. Next up is Lovebirds, the third ability. Her heal is staying the same. However, the healing scaling per tick is going to be increasing. It was 3.5%. It's now going to be 7%. And ally heal scaling per tick increased from 2.5% to 7% as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty huge. Like that's like almost 3 times as much healing, right?
Exactly, exactly. And then damage per tick reduced from 15 to 55 is now going to be 10 to 40. And damage scaling per tick, 17.5%. Intelligence is now going to be 5% intelligence. And last but not least on Aphrodite, the Undying Love will no longer grant jealousy to Aphrodite. So overall, these are a lot of big changes to Aphrodite. Main focus is you'll give more sustain to your teammates, but at the same time, it's going to come at the cost of some damage.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the goal here is to position her more as an enchanter. She's always kind of had an enchanter kit. People like to say that she was always this super high damage mid laner. She wasn't, you know, always in Smite's history. She's had a lot of identities. She was a soul laner for a while. She was a support a lot of her. But really, she's always kind of had this enchanter kit, but she just didn't necessarily have the scalings to support it. So with this, we're pushing her core kit into more of an enchanter. An enchanter, for people who maybe aren't familiar with the terminology, is someone who is going to build power. They're going to build inter strength, not a lot of tank stats. But that when they're building that scaling stat, it's going to scale their healing, their shielding, their supportive abilities, and they're using their power to help keep their teammates alive and be that like hard support versus a tank support, if that makes sense. This is an archetype that we haven't really enabled a lot in the history of Smite, which is why we're making a lot of changes now to try and make this more of a viable path. We do understand there's a lot of Afro mid enjoyers who would like to have a version of Afro that's playable in mid come back. That's certainly something that we are aware of and would consider for the future. But I think we believe that the core Afro identity, the kit really does tie more to an enchanter play style. And we think that this is probably going to be a healthier place for her to be.
Next up on the list is RTO. Energy Surge is going to be increasing the heal. It was 30 to 110, will now be 25 to 105. So base healing gone down, but the scaling has increased. It was 25% intelligence, will now be 35%. And life tap, we're going to see a heal increase there too. Sorry, decrease on the base. 10 to 30 is now going to be 8 to 28, but the scaling increased from 3% to 6%.
Yeah, and you may see this on a lot of characters that have like the ability to do both, kind of. Like, like the idea is that RTO shouldn't get a ton of healing if she's just building tanky. You can build really tanky and have a little bit of healing, but if you want to like really lean into more of the healing aspects, you need to build more intelligence.
Cabrakan next up, Refraction Shield. Obviously, he's just a personal little healer, but his heal is going to be adjusted too. Heal was 12 to 24, is now going to be 10 to 22, and can now only heal from up to 4 enemies per use. Crazy enough, the Refraction Shield did not have a limit once upon a time. And the bonus healing scaling is going to be 0.5% max health on Cabrakan. So good nerf to Cabrakan in a weird way where a lot of people would complain about his sustain at the moment. Well, there you go. Next on the list, Chak.
Yeah.
Overflow. Healing scaling increased from 12.5% to 20%. And the heal amount per level is 1. And also his Rain Dance. Heal per tick, 8 to 20 is where it has always been. But the scaling per tick is going up from 2.5% to 5% intelligence. This is going to be making really, really like sustaining in these lanes.
Yeah, I think int Chalk could be an interesting
see what you did there.
Yeah, sustainy kind of solo option again.
What a day.
So,
yeah. Cupid on the list as well. Heart Bomb aspect specifically here. The heal going to be increasing at base from 25 to 85, will now be 25 to 95, and the scaling has been adjusted 8% strength, 8% intelligence to 8% strength, but 15% intelligence instead. Share the Love and Fields of Love are both for base and aspect. Share the Love heal will be flat 15 to 55 with a heal scaling of 6% instead of 3.5%. And Fields of Love is going up to 20% from 12.5% too.
Yeah, I think once again, it's just like if you're building intelligence, you're going to be healing more, right? Which is kind of the goal with both the Enchanter and, base Cupid is, with the changes to anti-heal, needs a little bit more there for that to feel the same kind of.
And Danza next up, Alluring Spirits. The heal is staying the same, but the amount of intelligence you're going to scale with is going up. It was 3%, will now be 5% too. Nothing too crazy on Danzabra, obviously, but a lot of people have heals in their kit that need a little bit of extraness just because of the amount.
Because of the anti-heal changing, right? Because it was 20% cap, now it's 40% cap, so need to change a little bit to make up for that.
Adjust. ESET next up on the list is basically on the aspect of Wing Gust. The damage scaling changed from 5% magical protection and 5% physical protection to just 10% intelligence instead. And the heal amount from this is going up as well. It was 12 to 28, will now be 12 to 32. And the scaling of this is now going to be 10% intelligence rather than magical protection and physical protection that it once was. And last on there, just circle of protection, still staying the same, 75 to 215.
Yep.
Guan Yu also on here. Conviction heal goes up, so it comes down at base. 45 to 145 will now be 30 to 130, but the intelligence scaling has increased 6% to 10%.
Yep. Additionally,
conviction on aspect also seeing changes there too. Was 45 to 145 will now be 30 to 130, but the intelligence scaling going up to 10% from 6%. And the tick change as well will be 4 to 20 is now 2 to 18 with an intelligence scaling increase. It was 0.75% intelligence. It will now be 1.25% intelligence.
Yep.
Hades, Devour Souls, staying the same in terms of the heal, but the scaling is being adjusted. 3.5% physical and 3.5% magical, plus 3.5% intelligence is now going to be 2.5 physical, 2.5 magical, and 8% intelligence. So Hades bufferage there.
Hades, by the way.
Yeah.
Continues to be one of the best gods in the game at all skill levels. Please recognize that Hades is good and play him a little bit more so that we can nerf him.
Is that why like he's not, because he's just not seeing a high play count? Really?
He's not highly played even at the highest levels. He's not banned. People don't generally recognize that he is a strong character. He has always been one of the top 5 characters in win rate since his introduction, I think. So if you want to get some more wins, play some Hades.
Hercules on the list too. Mitigate wounds 60 to 120 will now be 50 to 110, so slight reduction at the base. However, the heal 25 to 30% recent damage taken. Mitigate wounds, the heal is 10 to 30 per stack, is now going to be 12 to 32 per stack on Hercules. Next up, Ixchel, the Great End. The damage per tick was 26 to 64, is now going to be 26 to 74, so a slight increase there. And the Gleaming Blast in Aspects, the cooldown has been reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, but now no longer swaps to Threads of Light when hitting allies. It felt very weird to give a shield and then get the damage off the back of that. Mordred, also on this list here. Cruel Strikes, the heal is still 45% protections, the minion heal is 8 to 20. Heart Slash, the heal is 10 to 40 with the heal scaling of 12.5. And Pursue the Weak was 30 to 50, will now be 20 to 40 with a healing scaling of 25%. There's so many names on this. Nemesis, Retribution, heal 40% of the damage blocked. Heal scaling is now 5% intelligence to 8% of intelligence. Next up, a big one here with Raw Aspect. A lot of changes coming through.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger aspect changes, I think, to try and support the Enchanter playstyle.
Celestial Beam in the aspect then, damage reduced from 95 to 335 will now be 80 to 280. The intelligence scaling of this ability has been dramatically reduced. 105% it was base, but aspect is now going to be 35%. But instead, now grants allies 3 stacks of Ra's passive, Speed of Light. So mobility for your team if you do hit your 1.
Yep, which is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Divine Light in Aspect 2, the second ability no longer grants Solar Rays, so you will not be piercing minions with your autos anymore during Aspect. Solar Blessing, however, now has 6% intelligence scaling in this aspect, and Saving Pain in Aspect now has 50% intelligence heal scaling, so you can really try and play this Enchanter-style raw backline support.
Yeah, it's a lot of healing, a lot of speed up. It's fun. I mean, you played it. Is it fun?
It's going to be fun to play once the extra items come through a little bit. There's a couple of items in the game now that help to facilitate it, but it's also a kind of a playstyle shift because not a lot of people, and I think the community themselves, may struggle just a little bit because getting the idea of their support isn't going to be right in front of them the whole time. They may be stood behind them a little bit more with a lot of different gods. Sylvanas, last one on this list for this update. Wisps is still going to be 8 to 16. However, the scaling is going up by 3% from 3% to 6%. And then we move on to items. Quick mention on items, I guess, Kilgan. Not a ton of changes to items this update. We're really focusing on the gods for the anti-heal changes. And then next update, we expect to give Enchanter items a look over.
Yeah. So next patch will be more focused on Enchanter items. My current expectation is that probably we have a bigger god item balance past the patch after Enchanter items. I mean, there'll always be a little bit of balance, but so much of our design time has gone into Enchanter, god changes and Enchanter items recently that we probably haven't had as much other balance in this update and the next update. Yeah. So I'd expect we'll probably have a bigger pass on other balance in that next update.
I think Caps mentioned it on Wednesday, didn't he? Of we've gone quite a few patches of adding things to the game and adjusting things with Echo coming in, being adjusted. So has been a while since we've done a general update. Moving on to item balance though, a lot of this is really down to the anti-heal stuff where we're going to see increases here. So we'll start things off with Brawler's Beat Stick is going up from 25% anti-heal to 40%. Divine Ruin healing reduction increased from 25% to 40% as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it always gives me a spare page. Health Chalice on this list, cost increase from 300 gold to 400 gold. This one, honestly, is one that I think is probably worthwhile for the community to realize is going to change the builds at the start of the game. People may have to not be able to get everything they want at the beginning of the game and may have to make a trade-off rather than starting with a Health Chalice every single game. Yeah,
I think we just felt like there is a lot of very early sustain because of Health Chalice. And wanted to make it more of a choice. If you're going into Health Chalice, you're giving up something else, kind of, right? The instant question, I'm sure that is in chat's minds, is why didn't you just make it heal less or heal slower?
Sure.
Right? So the thing is that Health Chalice and potions intentionally use the same thing so they don't stack. So you can't be running a Health Chalice and potions at the same time. So we wanted to try this as a change. If this does not, resolve the issues, then we will, continue to take a look at this. But we just are a little bit concerned about specifically the amount of sustain, like, as we track all this, like, we know how much sustain people are getting out of every item, and Health Chalice in particular has gone up in terms of purchase rate a lot because people have realized how good it is, and the amount that you're getting out of it, it's quite a lot.
I think the amount of trips back to base in the early game, you start off with this item very well, you go back to base consistently, you're getting very, very effective use out of this, so the cost increase is granted.
Yep.
Jananka also on this list with a healing reduction increase from 25% to 40%. And last but not least on the item balance for this update, Totem of Death is getting an adjustment, a small nerf here. Bonus magical damage reduced from 10% of targets missing health to 8%. The bigger change, this can only affect gods, no longer affects jungle bosses as effectively. So there is a bit more of a trade-off there of getting good damage off in these team fights with this Echo build, but not being as damaging to objectives in the late stages of the game. And that is all I have on that list for today.
There is, I do want to mention this in particular. Did shifters not get touched? Every way we can numerically look at it, like we can look at items like if one person in a lane builds it and the other person doesn't, how does it do? We look at items in different kinds of matchups. We look at items as a whole. Like we look at items at the highest skill levels and at the lowest skill levels. Shifter Shield is not a particularly good item. It does not contribute to you winning as much as almost any other item that you can build. I understand that there is still a memory in people's Shifters was insanely good a patch or two ago, to be certain. I'm not discrediting that at all. In this most recent update, Shifters is totally a fine mid-tier item. It is not outperforming exceptionally. It's not something that we're super concerned about right now. It is still being built a lot, but it's not performing very well for an item that is built that much. A lot of times when an item is built a lot, if you look at the stats of, again, discounting mirror matches, if you say one solo laner builds it, the other solo laner doesn't, right? That item has a very high win rate because the community has figured something out that an item is really good, and that's why it's being built so much. I think in this case, the item is being built a lot because people remember that it was really, really good, and they feel like it still fits into their builds because it does do good things, right?
It does. I mean, it gives you a lot of. I think the problem is it's got so many varied stats on it. It gives you protections, some damage, some health regen. So everyone's like, well, these are all core things that I want.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong, right?
Sure.
But it is not you will win more if you build one of 20 other items in that slot. Just statistically speaking. Which is why we didn't choose to nerf it in this update. If it was super highly built and it was super even just a moderately high win rate, we would be more interested in nerfing it in this pass.
Sure.
But because it's not particularly good, we talked about it for a long time. We were it's hard for us to justify nerfing it when it's not doing that well.
Sure.
So
we're definitely seeing a decrease in my mind in terms of aura roles picking it outside of solo lane. You're not seeing it as much in the support role as you once were. But it's still an item that we will keep looking at, but it's not going to be off the table.
No. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our design focus for this update and the next update has gone into the enchanter stuff. So there's probably a couple items and a couple gods that we want to get to nerfing, but we just didn't necessarily have time to address everything that we wanted to.
Sure.
But I just specifically wanted to call out Shifters because I think that is one that comes up a lot.
It's the standout one. It's the in vogue at the moment, really, regarding it. So that is.
I just want to be the only one to build Shifters. I literally don't build Shifters anymore. I have the stats. I can tell you numerically what's best. No, I'm just joking. But no, it's good in some roles. there's some gods that I do want to build it on, but
sure.
it's not one of those like broken items the way that people think it may be. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just don't have anything to add. That's how.
Yeah. Sorry, I caught you at a.
No, it's fine. So we've gone through OB42 overview, quick updates, and now we can just kind of take questions from chat, which I think I feel like this show today, Kilgoon, might be a bit more frustration from the community than anything, just with how things that we've just said in general. Sure. So please remove Aerospell from Assault. I do know during the Enchanter Pass, Aerospell is being looked at, chat. No guarantees on exactly what happens there, but I do expect Aerospell to see some adjustments. If not, go back to the drawing board and then maybe revisit in the future, just as a heads up.
Yeah, and I will
but it's not being removed just yet.
Indirectly, also, I believe it will be nerfed by anti-heal going to 40%.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So all of the lifesteal items, all of the healing items will be less effective if you're being anti-healed at 40% versus 20%. Mm-hmm. One thing that I will mention, though, is that anti-heal in SMITE 2 still does not affect hit points per second.
Sure.
Which is something in SMITE 1, I believe it did affect HP 5. So that is something that we're aware of and discussing.
About maybe anti-heal on regen in some regard?
Yeah, maybe at some point, that is something that we're aware of. But, other than that, like, it should have a bigger impact. Can we consider adding ultimate is ready to auto VGS with exceptions for low cooldown ultimates? I think that one might get a little spammy because I think that like normally ultimate is ready is something that people call when they want to like almost like trigger a fight,
Sure.
And I think I would be more confused if somebody's like ultimate is ready right when my ultimate came up.
Sure.
I think that we really did try and put thought into like how and when people are actually using these VGS lines and not make it trigger at a point that would be confusing to people. So yeah, I think probably not on that one. There are a couple other things that we're
my brain
at.
goes to like edge cases of like Artio and characters like that where you're like, oh, my ultimate's always ready. Is it a spam, but we'd have to put exceptions in and stuff. Yeah.
So like I said, there are some other things that we were experimenting with on how we can if there are auto VGS lines that make sense to play. I will say, like, we have been very pleased with it internally. Like, I think that it has helped teams coordinate more already, but we'll see how it goes when it goes live. When will we receive Odin Exalted rewards? That is something we're still looking into. I don't have an update, but that is something that we're aware of.
The last I saw in the Odin stuff chat, like the team is looking into some of the people there's a few people that had some issues, but they are being investigated and they will get sent out eventually. Apologies for that. We don't exactly know why some of these people have had these edge cases, and that's what we're going to fix through first. But you will get them.
I may know why, but yes.
Okay.
It will be cleaned up eventually. So. Why did you make Aphrodite share Prot's passive when she's going to be building Int as an enchanter? So that gives you two different build paths, which I think is an okay thing, right? You can build a lot of protections and be focused more on sharing your protections. You can build super high Int and be focused more on the healing. You can try and build more like hybrid, bruiser, whatever you want to call it, and be focused on, well, I'm going to be somewhat tanky and somewhat healy, but I'm not going to be as good at either. And I think that's okay if like there are multiple ways to build, but you just don't always get the benefits from everything, regardless of how you build. Healers shouldn't be tanks, but she won't be healing for as much because most of her healing comes from 7% int scaling. So if she isn't building int because she's building tank, then she won't be healing as much. A heal is still a heal. Well, I mean, that's... I feel like you can't look at the world in black and white. Pretty much, I don't want to say every god in SMITE. A vast majority of the gods have some sort of sustain.
Yeah.
They have some sort of heal or regen built into their kit, right? But it's all, how strong is that? How much of the power budget is allotted to their healing or their sustain?
Is there a reason there is no strength scaling for healing? I feel like it restricts a lot. Even if it's only a little scaling, I think that would be a healthy thing for characters who might be able to use it. I kind of agree with that statement. Like, we don't have a ton of strength scaling, but I guess with some of that, I think it's in my mind, it's kind of like a Cupid, for example, that could get some more strength scaling potentially. But then again, it's also dealing damage.
That's one of the things. Like, strength is more directly tied to damage, right? Because when you're building strength, you're getting a lot more attack damage.
Yeah.
I believe it's 80% conversion to attack damage from strength and 25% from int. I should know those exact numbers, but it's
different to God actually, but yeah.
The vast majority have the same scaling though. And like, if we make healing scale off of strength, then you're just getting the healing from something that you want to build already. It should be a trade-off.
It would be a trade-off. The way intelligence works is obviously the scaling goes up and down of those abilities, so we would have to do some touches there too.
100% on the majority of gods. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking about who were we talking about recently that was, I guess it was, we were talking about Izanami, and then somebody else had like AoE autos that scaled it at a lower rate. But anyway.
Isn't Geb currently doing
Geb,
that? Yeah. Geb aspect, just to be clear. Because before everyone in the chat's like, wait, Geb, is that work? Can we get a counter echo item similar to Spectral for crit? My take would be never say never, but at the same time, I think it's just in vogue at the moment with these echo builds. I think they're viable, but they take such a long time to come online. But I do get they got to late game. How do I deal with this now that I'm taking so many procs of echo damage?
Yeah, so I will say there's been a lot of discourse about the Cosmic Horror in particular.
Yeah.
And people feel like that's just doing a lot of damage. I think part of that is because you can see and feel the damage that it's doing more because it spawns these little tentacles that are shooting at you. Looking at the actual numbers, we felt like the percent missing health damage one, what's it called again? The Totem of Death, right?
Yeah.
Totem of Death was actually doing a lot of what people were feeling as the source of the damage.
Yep.
And that's why we did nerf that in this update. We do know the Echo build is a little strong. It's stronger on some characters than others. It's totally fine on the vast majority of characters, in terms of win rate at least, but I think there's a couple. We generally want to see what happens with this Totem of Death change, and then from there we will continue to take a look at Echo. Have we thought about putting item icons next to yellow damage numbers so people can better understand where the damage comes from? I think that's an interesting idea. I think that there is the risk that it gets very messy with those. But it's an interesting idea. I'll mention it too.
On paper, I do like that, but I do feel like it's going to have to be a toggleable setting almost. To turn them on and off.
Everybody,
which is what everyone wants. That's the issue. And so the added effect, because when we say do something like that, it sounds on paper great, but then when we do it, people are like, well, I don't like this. I don't want this. Same with combat text and the amount of different numbers you can see and the way you can scale them in the settings too.
Yep. I don't know specifically what the issue is with stacks for items as Morrigan while being transformed. I don't play much Morrigan, I'm sorry, and I've not seen this reported. It doesn't mean it hasn't been reported, I just haven't seen it. So if you can explain the issue, I can see. With this Enchanter pass, will the Rod of Asclepius get its 12.5% bonus healing passive done back? So I don't want to say specific what's changing with the items because there's still a lot of stuff in flux. But yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that there will be items that can increase your healing or can give you extra effects when you're healing, or, things that trigger off of, doing things to support your teammates.
Yeah. Can Yamoja get her int scaling on heal to be able to go healer and tank playstyle like Afro? I know that Caps mentioned on Wednesday a little bit about this, but I know Yemoja will continue to get looked at. The problem with Yemoja is that she does have heals and shielding, and she does bring them both to the fight. A lot of people seem to think that you just spam the one on cooldown late game in the team fights, and that's the best way, but it's realistically not. In those engagements, spamming the two is the best thing to give shields and heals consistently. If we were to put in scaling on both the shield and the heal, or one independently, then we're kind of forcing a playstyle in one or the other. I'm not saying it's off the table for Yemoja to get looked at in terms of her scaling, but at the same time, I think she's a little bit trickier than some of the others with how her playstyle is.
Yeah, I think that it's just not as clear of a change. And I understand that a lot of people in the community think that it is. Yeah. But that's just not. That's not our current take on it. Doesn't mean that she's not going to get looked at eventually, but it's just less clear of a change, I think is the best way to say it. What about Baron? Is he not a healer? So I will say that there's some gods that we did not touch in this first pass, either because the numbers looked close to what they would have been if we changed them, you know, like comparing them to other gods, or because we just didn't get to every god we wanted to touch. I don't remember exactly what the discussion was around Baron, but, you know, I would say like this is the beginning of this pass, not the end, right? Sure. We know that items are still coming. The items are going to have a major impact on things. And then there may be other specific god balance as we go forward.
Any Smite 1 Enchanter items coming to Smite 2? I don't know much about the Enchanter items that are coming right now. Yeah. I can't give you more updates.
Yeah, I don't really have much I can share about the items right now, just because like there is a lot that's still in flux as we're developing them.
Some may make it, some may not.
Yeah. So, but I would say like next update, you know, a week and a half from today, we'll be showing off those items. So you don't have too long to wait. You know, apologies that I don't have more that I can share today. Did we think about implementing a new stat for healers and shields instead of in-scaling piety, for example? It's definitely come up. I know this is a common community suggestion of wisdom or piety or whatever, you know, whatever they want. I just don't think another stat is the solution that we wanted to go for here, right? And the good or the bad about developing a game is there's a million different ways you can do anything, right? Like, that's certainly a path that we could have chosen to take. I think we felt like we had, with the tools that we already had, we could make this archetype work. And there wasn't a need to add this extra stat. You know, that was kind of what it came down to, right? Like and if there is something that we want to do that specifically increases your healing dealt or your shielding done or something, right? Like, that could easily be like a passive ability and not necessarily need to be an whole extra stat to convey just that. Why does healing have to scale on int and not protections? Building int is awful on healers. So that's the whole point of Enchanters, Setsuna Fairy. And I appreciate as our #1 Afro enjoyer. But the point of, so there's this concept in development and balance of power balance, right? Or power budget, power budget. If I am designing, if I'm a 5-year-old designing my perfect superhero, right?
You'd make Afro.
Probably. But no, like, they can fly, they're invincible, they can breathe fire, you know, they can, you know, they come from us, whatever, right? Like,
sure.
They have all the powers, right? Then they end up like Superman and nobody can kill them and they just don't actually work in the context of the universe, right?
Sure.
That's why all actual superheroes other than Superman have significant strengths and weaknesses.
Kryptonite is a weakness, a huge weakness.
Sure.
Getting way
the
off
one thing I'm weak to is a stone that is not naturally occurring on the planet. That has regardless.
Yeah.
Like
there is a power budget.
There's a power budget, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you are a very tanky character, then you should deal less damage and heal less. If you have like some sustain, then that comes at the cost of your tankiness or your damage, right? Like, and when gods are designed initially, when everything is set out, the idea is that like a god that's pure damage will do more damage than a god that has other utility built into them, right? And this, to make enchanters work, to give more of their power budget to healing, which is something people really want, you can't also be a really good tank. You can have some tankiness, you can have some damage, but a lot of your power budget has to be invested into healing if healing is the thing you do, because healing is super powerful. Healing is kind of like movement speed. It's one of those things that people underestimate how powerful it really is, even at lower numbers.
Sure.
So, that's why we ended up where we ended up. Do I play EverQuest Legends, TLPs, or retail? I actually play on a fan server, so I do not play on any of the above.
Is there a benefit to playing on a fan server? I guess it's just balance, moderation.
So
mods, pretty much.
EQ Legends is kind of its own thing entirely. The TLPs are fine. Retail is like super modern, and I don't know anything about what's going on modern. The fan emulated servers, the one I play on, things move a lot faster, so you don't have to invest as much of your time into it the way that you would if you were playing EverQuest for real, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy it. I don't play P99. P99 is the opposite of that. P99 is P99 is the old school, you have to play it no life, which I don't have time for. I just play a little bit nowadays.
With mages getting flat pen, echo, and now enchanters, can we please revisit starters soon? It's time for other classes to have some love. I know we've mentioned on the show a couple of times that we are going to be heading towards looking at starters at some point, but we've got a clear history of where we're currently going, and we keep everyone's like, what's next? And we're literally halfway through one. So at the moment it's enchanters, enchanter itemization, general god balance has now been mentioned as well.
Yeah.
But then I know the team was going to look at starters.
Yes, starters is something that is definitely on our design to-do list, right? I can't tell you exactly when we're going to get to them, but I think it's one of those areas that we think is a big area for improvement for the game.
Yeah, it's not what we're ignoring it, chat, we're aware.
And I will say, like, a lot of the starter discussion we see is like, can we get this old starter back? Can we get this old starter back? Can we make them branch or whatnot? Yeah. And I think that, like, we'll see where we end up, but my personal hope is that it's a bigger, more like fundamental change with a bunch of new starters and reworking.
We remove starters.
Honestly, like
no boots, no stars. It's crazy.
I don't know if we will have the bandwidth to do it or if the design team actually will want to do this.
Sure.
But I almost think that, like, for starters, we might be in a better place if we just got rid of all of the ones that we had and all of the old ones.
All of them?
And just like started from scratch and been like, okay, what are the things we're trying to enable with starters? What are the best designs to do that? Crazy.
That is not going to be next update challenge.
No, it's certainly not.
No, I know. I'm saying in general, like that sort of overhaul, that sort of idea of an overhaul.
Yeah,
would take a lot.
Yeah, and again, like I don't know if we'll necessarily go in that way, but because I think there's a lot of negatives to that.
There's a lot of options,
right?
Positives and negatives. Yeah.
But that's just something that I think is one extreme of where we could go. Because so much has changed about how we treat starters already, right? Like with them being adaptive, with them being a lot less role locked than they were. I think there's just a lot of room for us to do cool things. Not coming in 2 weeks. Not coming in 2 weeks. Will TPs to lanes ever see more nerfs? I feel like they ruin the flow of the game a lot of the time. The pitch here is limiting them to twice a game. I don't think we intend to limit the amount of times that you could do them in a game. I will say we are looking at teleports. In general, we like teleports. We think that they're, in general, a positive improvement to the game. I know that there's some very high-level concerns about teleports, and we are definitely talking about those and taking them into account. But I think that like limiting them to a reduced number of usage isn't the angle we're talking right now. I don't want to talk through what we are discussing because I don't.
You don't want to give false hope or false premise of
yeah.
But
I do want to kind of reassure at least that like we are having discussions about TP and how do we keep the benefits of it while making sure it's not causing issues that people are seeing at the very high levels.
I will leak. We don't normally leak everything that's coming in OB42, but I will say that the movement speed you get while teleporting is getting decreased during this update. I'll just check the number real quick. It's going to be 1600 movement speed you were getting flying. You're going to be moving slower. It's minor, but it is going to be an impact of like you're not zooming straight back to lanes quick. It was 1600, will now be 1100.
Yeah.
So a little leak for chat there.
Yeah, so it's almost like 2/3 of the speed, right? So
it will slow down a little bit, but obviously the amount of cooldown, like how often that's available, when it's available, can always be adjusted and will always be investigated, not always guaranteed for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's an example of the kind of thing that we've been talking about. I wasn't sure it was going to be in this.
No,
patch,
I was like, I'm pretty sure I read it, so I wanted to double check before we said anything else.
Yeah, so it's hard when we're playtesting things like to know what's in which patch. So
there's stuff in there. Sometimes I'm like, are we doing this?
Sure.
And we're like, we're testing it. So.
But no, that's good. So yeah, I think that'll help people feel like they can get at high levels. That change will help you get a little bit more advantage out of a kill and be able to push advantages a little bit more. At lower levels, that slowdown probably won't make too much of a difference. So hopefully it feels good for people.
Can we please add back the attack speed slow on Athena Taunt? I will mention it to the devs. If anything needs some buffs, then I can mention that Taunt getting an attack speed slow back as an option.
What are gods that are in consideration for bigger buffs? And you're saying Athena, Bellona, Kurnanos.
Who says that?
This is what this chatter says. I don't think that those are necessarily the three gods that I would put top of the list. I was just going to look and see if I could share any nuggets of wisdom with chat about who they should not be playing right now. One moment. I have so many. I was trying to get this other query working.
Someone just says, can we replace Manny with a skeleton in October? That's mean to Manny, first of all. I don't know if we've still got a skeleton in storage. We might. I'm not buying one, though.
So I would say things that are... I'm going to give you 4 picks.
Me? Okay.
No, not you.
Okay. Good.
Just
Chat.
I'm going to give chat 4 things that are commonly picked in ranked last update, like somewhat commonly, enough to have like fairly reliable data that are not good.
Okay.
So
that are not good.
Not good right now. So
these are gods.
Gods.
Right? Okay.
4 gods that are somewhat reliably picked, but are not good choices right now.
Okay.
That we probably would buff somewhat. Right. These might not be huge buffs, but some buffs.
Sure.
For carry, base Neath.
Okay.
Not very good right now.
Sure.
And that one might be more just because a lot more people are playing Neath because of the aspect. Or excuse me, not because of that. Because new skin.
New skins.
A lot of times when there's a new skin that comes out, more
popularity.
people play it and it does worse. So that one might not be as legitimate as some of the other ones. Mid, don't play base Kronos. Highly picked, not doing very well. Jungle, base Achilles.
Okay.
Fairly highly picked, doing very poorly.
Sure.
Solo, base Opwash, not doing very well.
He's base Opwash and solo. You deserve to die.
Well, a lot of people are trying it. So, so those are a couple couple high pick, low win rate gods in ranked this update.
I guess also underneath it was Exalted Race. Was that?
Yeah, I suppose Exalted Race probably also got more people playing Neath. So yeah, so there are probably a couple factors on Neath. Probably Neath is not quite as bad as I. That was just the easiest data that I could look at.
Sure, just real quick on the
yeah. So,
will the data obtained from the newly adjusted enchanted gods be meaningful info without the items to back them up? Oh, that's a really good question. And I think some of it comes down to what are we're kind of dissecting them a little bit into, obviously we're talking about enchanters in general, but step one is really looking at the healing balance in the game before we start to add additional items to empower those enchanters.
Yeah. Right? If you do, we've had this issue in the past, and sometimes you kind of have to do it this way, but when you change multiple things at once, it's hard to tell
what the real issue is.
Yeah. So in this case, this is kind of, the main focus of this really is kind of like undoing some of the anti-heal stuff and then making the beginning of changes to a few gods that we want to support with enchanter items.
Sure.
This should give us an idea of how things are performing with the anti-heal changes and just a general baseline of like, are they healing enough? Are they healing too much? If they're already healing too much with just this, then we probably need to bring it down to give them more power through the items, vice versa, right? Am I allowed to provide an update on Divine Tactics? I don't think that there is much of an update. I think that team is mostly working on other things at this point. I don't know if that's ever going to end up getting further along. I think they may be going down other paths at this point. So apologies for people that were, look forward to it. Like I said, it was a team that's not really related to us. They just are, a couple people that, formerly worked here and were interested in that. I will say, our other sister studio, Prophecy Games, dropped the playtest for their new game yesterday.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So Dead Zone Rogue 2.
Oh, it's available to playtest now?
Available to playtest as of yesterday.
Awesome.
And they had like over 5,000 people CCU
check it out.
playing it.
That's great.
So really good response so far. It's more Dead Zone Rogue if you like Dead Zone Rogue, but with some cool twists.
Additions.
Yeah, I think the biggest changes for it is that there's now like there are now almost like classes or suits or whatever that give you like different kind of build archetypes.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. And then they've done a lot of changes to the things that you can build and the kind of the roguelike choices and all that, and a new world and everything. So check it out if you like Dead Zone Rogue. Check out Dead Zone Rogue 2 and wishlist it because we sit down the hall from them. They're nice guys who we work with daily. So. What's your current hot take on Smite?
You know what? This isn't really a hot take. It's probably known, but not many people know. ESA aspect is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Like, that is just insanely good. And
it is.
Not enough people play it.
Yeah.
That's my only hot take.
ESA in general, kind of bullshit.
In general, she's okay, but I do think aspect and support is ridiculous, and people just don't realize how much it's bringing. That's my hot take. It's because it's just in vogue with me while playing games at the moment, but ESA OP. I'm going to say it. Qualm take into sorry. I didn't have a real hot take. Hot take, everyone complains about everything.
Can we make
Always.
a cutesy tab in the badge section in profile to better filter those? I believe that is coming.
That is part of this update. Yeah. The idea is to get the QT sorted out so it's a little bit easier. She's not fun. ESA is fun, chat. If you're not playing ESA, you're not having. I guess everyone's a different version of fun, but me denying anybody from playing the game forever with a silence and a stun, and then another silence and a stun and a heal and a stun and a silence, like that feels really good to me.
Yeah, I think that's
my play style of denial.
I was surprised by how many people were like, "Yeah, but Hades isn't fun." When I said that Hades is good earlier, I was like, I think Hades is a lot of fun. You go.
I think the issue. I think it's really. The problem is people have different playstyle ideas that they like to play. Right. Some people just like to play the line skill shot Ras of the world, hit long range snipes and do cool things. Some people don't want to have to like dive in to doing damage like a Hades, right? Or E-set and be positioned right and think about using your abilities on teammates and defensively rather than just doing damage.
One thing that we see a lot is a lot of like the more engaged players like the more skill expression gods, I would say, things where they can do things that look flashy or feel mechanically intensive, like Uller or Susanoo or I don't know, just gods that you have to do a lot, right? Yeah. And Hades is one of those gods where it's like I do damage in circles.
He could do a lot though.
But he does a lot, right? But it's like I think he's not like a super skill expression god, which I think could be part of it too. It's like I push ult and I stand there, like that's not fun. But for me, it's like I push ult and I kill everybody. That's fine. So.
I don't want to think. Just let me W key. I honestly, that's part of gaming in general too. People do just want to W key and fight and brawl, and that's why arena's so popular in general because that really is just a brawl it out sort of mode, no limitations. Will you be adding the VGS minigame back from the first game? We've seen that suggested a few times. I think it's on the list of maybe things to add, but also it wasn't really, guys, as popular as people think it was. It was a small introduction that we did, but not a lot of people really used it. And I think some of the complaint will be, well, it wasn't well advertised, but it was there and people didn't use it. So,
if a small developer came to us with a fully fleshed out prototype wanting to use the SMITE IP, would we consider it? I would say we would consider anything that comes our way. There needs to be a certain level of like legitimacy behind what you're doing for us to really like, if you're saying like, we want to make an officially licensed product where, we're actually making money and all that, like there's a decent amount that goes into approving that. But it's not something that we just would dismiss outright. Like there have been some external partners who have made SMITE games before. And, it could certainly happen again at some point. There's a certain quality bar that needs to be hit. There's a certain level of like trust and financial investment and everything that needs to happen. So, yeah. A couple very specific item questions about if Ancient Signet can keep mana regen and if Divine Ruin can get flat pen. I don't have strong opinions on this. I'm sorry. I can mention it to the designers, but I don't have strong feelings on either of those. I don't know exactly what Displayed is. Are those the people that sell like the metal pictures?
They sell artwork that you display. Basically, it's a metal frame that you can hang on the wall. I bought some during COVID, funny enough.
Are they cool?
They were pretty decent. I will say they didn't, at the time, they didn't stick as well on the walls I was using. I'm not trying to discredit the company because I actually did like the artwork that I got. But yeah, just you hang them on the wall and stuff. So it is kind of Display's just a company that like I'm pretty sure you can work with to source artwork for.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really know anything about them. I will say like
they do a lot of games and stuff now, but a lot of pop culture and everything. So,
I don't know if it's the kind of thing where it's like people just like set up their own stores or how that works, but like we do have a community art program, right? So if you wanted to, like, if it is one of those like Redbubble kind of things where you can set up your own store,
as much as that. No, it's more them licensing it.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'd be happy to talk to them if they wanted to reach out to us. Like, but we're not
chasing them.
We're not really chasing merch stuff right now because it's just like all of that stuff takes time. And we are a relatively small team, and we would rather spend our time trying to make the core game better than focus on merch stuff right now. So,
will SMITE ever add a character like Mercy where you just hold a button down and walk around without having to play? I mean, technically, Ixchel Ult is that. Being Afro today is that. I'm memeing. I don't think we'll have a character that just hold left click and heal people.
Yeah. If you just want to hold left click, play carry, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, true.
No, I mean, I think that, I also think that's kind of a little, like, there's a little bit more to Mercy than just holding left click.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
It's like, it's like,
she can fly too,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
She zooms around.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, medic in Team Fortress 2, it's like saying, well, just hold right click to heal, right? Like, that's all they do, right? It's like, but they do more than that too, you know? I don't know. I think that it's very easy to distill a god or a character down to, I just do this one thing, you know? But I think there's almost always more interesting there. I will say also, like, games need characters of different, like, execution difficulties, right? I think that's one of the, not to disparage a game, but I was talking with some of my friends a lot about, I have a lot of friends who are really into fighting games, right? Sure. And we were talking a lot about 2XKO this week, because I don't know if you saw that they announced that they're going to be stopping active development on the game, which a lot of former Hi-Rezers are actually on that team, and, you know, had been there for a long time, you know, so it's definitely sucks, not something you want to see. But the kind of common thread talking through it with my friends who were really into fighting games, they're like, yeah, like, it looked really good, but man, just like the level of execution needed to play that game at a base level was just too much for me. There weren't any characters I could just pick up and just like do stuff. It was too complex for me, right? And I think that you need characters that are in any kind of game, you know, whether it's a SMITE or a, you know, that are like, you know, Ra is a very simple character to understand. You know, I push button, line, I push button, line, I push button, circle that heals, you know, I push button, circle around myself. I don't even need to aim it, right? Like, very simple to understand. Still difficult to play well and hit all your abilities as Ra, for sure. But like easy to understand
introduction
and
level
start doing things as. And I think that, like, at least in my experience with 2XKO, didn't have those kind of like onboarding characters as much, right?
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, definitely feel bad for that team and wish them the best, because, like, I think there was a lot of really cool stuff about that game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
2XKO had a lot of sets, not a lot of Raws in SMITE terms. I could see that, yeah. Can we add in the red rectangle UI on enemies? Yeah, the targeting bracket is something that is on our to-do list. I don't know exactly what patch it's going to happen in, but it is something that we want to do. Part of it is that, like I could turn on a very bad looking bracket, like probably in the next update. But we want to do, there's a little bit of like polish on the SMITE 1 version that it had some slight movement to it. It had some slight glow to it. There's just a little bit of material work that needs to go into that. So at some point, you know, we will definitely get that back. I think to talk through why it isn't there, just super quick, we found that for new players, a lot of them were seeing that as more of like a tab targeting kind of lock on. And like, if the person has the bracket, I'm going to hit them, which isn't what that meant. It meant like, no, they're in range of your targeter, right? So that's why because I think it was actually in like the earliest SMITE 2 playtest, and we took it out because we got so much feedback that like it was misleading new players about what their abilities were going to do. And we switched to that, the nameplate kind of brackets that we have now. So we do want to bring it back as an option for people who liked it, but it probably still won't be the default. One thing we did realize, though, we do not have set as the default in SMITE 2, but it is the default in SMITE 1. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Go on.
In SMITE 1, while you have a targeter out, your aim targeter is hidden.
Okay.
In SMITE 2, it's not. Your aim targeter stays on.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a setting in SMITE 2 to change that. But that is one thing that's different default behavior between SMITE 1 and SMITE 2. So
it's not really mentioned. Huh?
Something fun that people may want to mess around with.
Interesting. Well, it is 2:00. So it is time for one more question. Or maybe 2 or 3, as always.
When are we linking players' items in game history? Well, that's coming in the next update on Tuesday. So
yeah, you'll be able to see items in it. Also, following up on that, someone said time CC'd on end screen for supports to feel better. I know the team's kind of looking at what potential stats can go on the end screen because there's talk of healing, shielding, either being amalgamated, separated, that sort of thing. Same sort of thing with the amount of CC'd thing. Would feel pretty good to go, hey, I CC'd them for 2 minutes there and we still lost the game.
Yep. People want a Alani check. I've got a
Alani
white monster today.
Do we still have Alani in?
No, they haven't stocked it in a while. We've got Celsius and we've got Monster.
Propel. That's what we're on now.
Is that like the Gatorade water?
Yes, it is. Gatorade electrolytes. Yeah.
It's what plants crave.
It's quite. What, Gatorade?
Have you not seen Idiocracy?
I don't look at. No.
You've never watched the movie Idiocracy?
No. I may have.
It's hilarious. It's probably actually less funny in 2026 than it was when it came out.
They all age. Yeah.
But it was extremely funny for its time.
Electrolytes. Yep.
Yeah, it's what plants crave.
I'll look for one more question to end on because I feel like I've skipped there.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I will answer this one super quick. Will the plant walls from SMITE 1 ever return? I think that was our least positively received.
What?
Remember how we had those? There was a seasonal map that had like the plant walls that popped up and you had to auto them a couple times to make them disappear.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Least positively received gameplay mechanic we ever put into Conquest.
Except that person in chat who's like, bring it back.
Yeah, so
there's always people.
I would say of all the things that we've ever experimented with, that's probably the one that's least likely to come back. It doesn't mean that like something like it will never come back in some other form, but that was not it was a cool mechanic on paper. Sure, completely agree. Sure. In practice, not different something that people liked. So probably not that one.
Give us Ragdoll back. I'm pretty sure Ragdoll is in the game. You can get Ragdoll.
Yeah, I think
goes in the game. Yeah. There's definitely a setting in the game that you can turn it on and off.
I think we actually did some work recently to make it.
That's why it's in my brain of like saying it. What god would Hidden Man push out last if he could? Gosh.
I think
one of the two gods coming this year.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'll say. So I can't stop him.
I would probably
one male, one female. I would never allow in the game if I could have it. Actually, no, I'm lying. There's 2 females. I just hate women. God, that was a terrible clip to end. But that's it for Titan Talk this week. It's not that I hate women at all. My wife would kill me.
I was just gonna say that I would actually unrelease Aphrodite just so.
Unreleased Aphrodite.
Didn't have to hear the Aphrodite complaints.
That's a good way of doing it for the most part. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If I get cancelled for that, it's not really true, but we'll see. I appreciate you all hanging out. PTS is available at the moment with all these updates, I believe, live in it as well for you to go around play testing at the moment. The update will be out on Tuesday and Kilgoon will be back on Monday to give a full recap of everything going into the OB42 notes. If we don't see you beforehand though, have a great weekend and we'll see you on the Battlegrounds. Goodbye.